Okay, now we're on. Hello, everyone. My name is Andreas Diaz, or my YouTube channel name, Andreas the Pop Culture Guy Channel Presents. And today we're going to discuss X-Men, the 2000 film directed by Bryan Singer, starring Patrick Stewart, Hugh Jackman, and Ian McKellen. Today, my co-host is Tommy. Tommy, say hello.
Hello, everyone. Thanks for having me, Andres.
Yeah, no problem. It's been a pleasure. Well, this week has been a special. This is a big one. I mean, X-Men 20 years. 20
Yeah.
years. I cannot believe that.
I remember seeing like trailers for and TV spots for like X2 back when I was a kid, and obviously I wasn't into superheroes back then, so I was like, what is this? So, but I can still remember, those back in the day.
Wow.
So, and obviously now I obviously love X-Men. So.
Me too. I have a question. You're a little bit older than me. You seen
Yes.
the first X-Men in theaters or just...
No, I never saw any of the X-Men movies in theaters. I saw Spider-Man when I was in theaters when I was a kid. I did become really into Spider-Man, but I never saw any of the original X-Men movies in theaters. I believe the first one I ever saw in theaters was like it might have been Apocalypse. Like I never saw any of them in theaters. I only ever saw them on like DVD or airing on TV or something like that.
Wait.
I know. It's crazy.
Wait a minute. So let me get this straight. Your first movie is Apocalypse.
No. That wasn't my first movie. That was not my first movie. I had seen every film before Apocalypse. Like I only either saw them on DVD or like when they were airing on TV.
In theaters.
Yeah, I just never saw them in theaters when they came out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, to break the ice, I will say, Tommy, you're not alone. I mean, my first X-Men film in theaters is X-Men: The Last Stand. So. So I mean, one of these days we'll discuss The Last Stand and Apocalypse because, I mean, in my opinion, I don't want to discuss too much, but like The Last Stand is better movie over Apocalypse, I would say.
I agree. And it's especially better than another movie that attempted to recreate a certain storyline like The Last Stand did, but we'll talk about that another time.
Yeah, that's very true. Oh my God. Well, folks, you got the start of the X-Men. How insane this franchise has been for the last 20 years.
It's had its ups and downs, for sure.
Yes, we'll definitely discuss that. I mean, so Tommy, just an overall opinion. What do you think about this film, and especially you as a comic book fan, like what it did for the superhero Sandra, especially that time, around 2000.
Yeah. So I really like the original X-Men still to this day. I think it is there is some things about it that are pretty dated because again, it was back in 2000, so it was 20 years ago at this point.
Right.
But it really was substantial in comic book and superhero movies becoming what they are today. Because back in the time when this movie came out, comic book movies really weren't doing well at all. Like we had. Like back during the 70s, we had the Christopher Reeve, Richard Donner Superman films, but they became trash by the time Superman 4 had been released and condemned by audiences and critics alike. And the same thing happened with Batman. Like we had a huge hit with Tim Burton's original 1989 Batman, and then followed by Batman Returns, which got mixed reviews, and then again Batman Forever. I know you really like Batman Forever, but it was considered a huge hit, I think, financial wise. Yeah. And then Batman and Robin came, and that just like completely tarnished the franchise. So at the time, superhero movies really weren't doing very well. So I can imagine people were initially skeptical about an X-Men movie being made. But at the time it had an amazing cast, like of very A-list actors at the time, and really good special effects for the time as well, and really stuck to the source material. And it had pretty good writing still, but I think by today's standards. So I still think that the original X-Men holds up for the most part and was absolutely substantial in superhero movies that followed after, like the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, or the Marvel Cinematic Universe, or the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy. You know, things like that. I believe carried over. The original X-Men was one of the stepping stones towards getting superhero and comic movies where they are today.
I completely agree. Yeah, like it's very weird to look back on like the pre X-Men and like the aughts era of superhero film.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
I didn't notice this, but like in the 90s, like the thing is, like it's very difficult to bring these characters, especially the effects that was going on. And
yeah,
so a lot of the characters weren't able to be in the big screen due to its, limitations.
yeah.
And
Like it was
so,
already difficult enough to get Superman done right on the big
yeah,
screen at the time.
yeah. I mean, the 90s were like, I mean, the 70s, like Superman, like from the 70s to 80s, there was not much comic book stuff. But then, I
Yeah,
mean, there were some attempts, but some of
yeah.
them were failures,
It seemed it was more. It seemed it was more. It seemed it was more so attempted on TV rather than in movies. Like we had the Incredible Hulk TV show and
Yeah,
things like that.
yeah. Well, and then, with TV, you were able to strip down some of the aspects
Yes, yes.
that the character had. Like, I mean, the Incredible Hulk show is very interesting, but also
Mm,
very unique. And I don't think the
yeah.
films really capture what made the show special, especially
Mm,
the MCU one. But like the 90s, I want to get into that part of the 90s, because the 90s they were trying to replicate Batman. You saw like the pulp heroes getting their own movies, like The
yeah.
Shadow, Rocketeer, uh,
Hmm.
The Phantom,
Oh
and then
yeah. The Rocketeer I think is a very underrated movie.
oh yeah, and The Mask of Sorrow. I wish people would talk more about
Yes,
that.
I love The Mask of Zorro. That's a fantastic movie. The
Yeah,
Phantom, I don't know, but
I mean,
I really like The Rocketeer and I really like The Mask of Zorro.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, each pulp heroes film are unique and special in its own way, and I want to say
Hmm.
that. And I agree with you. The best ones are Rocketeer and The Max Zorro.
Yeah.
And you got The Crow that
Mm,
predate like the big Ray Art films,
yeah.
and so it's independent as well. And so, and and then lastly, and then when we get into discussion of X-Men, I don't want to forget Blade. I want to
Yeah.
that Blade came out in 1998, the year after Batman Robin, and that was
Yeah, that's true.
that's the film that gave some, like security for Marvel to sell out
Yeah.
there, right? The studios say, well, look, this is, you know, like profitable. You can make this film work.
Yeah. I haven't seen Blade in a long time, so I can't remember if I liked it or not.
The first X-Men, the first Blade film is great.
Hmm.
It, it's not a superhero film. You just have
Yeah.
to take it as a horror action film, and it's great.
Yeah. Yeah. As it should be.
Yeah, and that film set up the thing that is for the MCU, like
Hmm.
taking a Sandra and turning it into a superhero film, like with
Yeah.
like with the soldier being political thriller. Uh,
Yeah. And yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy being like a space opera comedy.
yeah,
Uh,
exactly. X-Men like show, I think, studios that you can make a film with so many superpower characters,
mm,
because this film show a lot of different unique characters with their different abilities, and it worked in this film.
yeah. You would think that you would one of the biggest worries I think you would have is like worrying that your movie would be overcrowded with like too many
Right.
heroes, but I think they managed to contain it for the most part, so I have to applaud them for that.
Yeah. 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 It's just very. I mean, yeah. When you get into the later sequels, but it,
Yeah.
I mean, it's mostly the worst ones. The best ones
Yeah.
know how to handle characters.
Yeah.
So I want to get into like for you, Tommy. What's the best aspect of the film? What's the best thing about this film for you? And
That's a tough one. It would have to be a tie between um Hugh Jackman as Wolverine and both Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen as Professor X and Magneto, because like those I think are the biggest saving graces of not just the original X-Men but the original trilogy in general. Like despite despite that, yeah, X-Men: The Last Stand is not really a good film. There's still a couple of things about it that I do kind of like. Like, for instance, Hugh Jackman is still great as Wolverine. Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen are still great as Xavier and Magneto. So, like, those are, like they have always been, like, the biggest, like, the face of the X-Men film series. And it's going to be really hard for Marvel Studios to top that when they eventually integrate the X-Men into the MCU.
I mean, especially after McAvoy and Fassbender, like, and like it's crazy. We have, another set of good Professor X and Magneto.
Yeah. Despite like how they may have not been written the best, James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender did I think a great job doing the best they could to emulate Stewart and McKellen.
Oh yes, definitely. Anything else for best aspect of the film? Because I'll bring mine if you don't have any more.
I think one thing that the one specific thing I think definitely like is able to show you like the kind of like this isn't like a movie where we're effing around, where we're just this is going to be a very serious film, is just opening with the concentration camp with Magneto as a child. Like I thought that was the perfect way to emulate what this movie is. It's showing like, yes, this is not a movie for kids. This is not something you can laugh at. We're trying to tell a serious story that that everyone of all ages, more so older people, can enjoy.
Yeah, that's true. And I think that's a great way to segue from my best aspect of the film is definitely tone. I think this film did a really good job of convincing people that, the superhero film genre is like legitimate and can take it serious. I think this series did a good job, especially this film did a really good job of entering you in the world of X-Men. I think the X-Men films did a really good job of really like confronting society, like the themes of prejudice, like the things you hear about the X-Men about prejudice and how they're not accepted in the world. This film really does a really good job of that, and especially its two sequels in the original trilogy. And I think that this film feels like a Magneto film. Like this film does a really good job of making Magneto as a very sympathetic character.
Yeah.
With a background you can understand, and like you can see the parallels to what they're trying to do. What is going on, it's in almost like a real reality context, and it's just in a more heightened reality film of these superpower beings. And so that's probably one of the greatest things for me is the tone. And then another aspect is definitely the casting. The casting is great. And I agree with you. Patrick Stewart, Hugh Jackman, Ian McKellen are all great actors. I think this movie is definitely going to Ian McKellen because his character gets the most development, and you understand him from the beginning to end.
Well, at the same time, I feel like that's one of the things that drew audiences to Wolverine, like in the same way that comic book readers were drawn to him, is that you know so little about him.
Yes.
And that's what makes him so interesting.
Yes. I was gonna get to that.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's because I want to be careful with X2. That's the thing. I feel like X2 is the best Wolverine in an X-Men film. And
you don't think it's Logan?
Yeah. Oh no. I'm saying like in the X-Men.
Oh, in the like main X-Men series. I gotcha.
Yeah, like in terms of Hugh Jackman's performance.
Okay.
And the characters' involvement of these team up films.
Yeah, I agree. X2, I do believe, is a better film than the original X-Men. I think it's superior to this particular film. Yeah.
I mean, it's superior. But that comes later.
Yeah.
But yeah, and Hugh Jackman as Wolverine really does a great job of this. I think the film really does a good job of like hitting at his background. And leaving you want to learn more, and they did that very well in the second film. Obviously, it gets worse, and it's for solar.
Yeah.
But we're not gonna get into that. But
Oh God.
but yeah. What else? I like the production design.
Mm,
Like this film, like it completely gave you the definitive X layer cerebral and the extra. I feel like they really did a good job of adapting some aspects of the comic book
yeah.
lore from, for this film. I really like the X Mansion. I liked how the X layer is laid out. I really love how they went all into that design. I really like it. It looks very futuristic, but in a very believable way. And
Mhm.
Cerebro is iconic. I mean, that big round room,
Yeah.
and it's just incredible.
Mhm.
And I think that's another aspect I like about the film is the production design. What
Mhm.
do you think?
Yeah, I agree. If I do believe like the production design of the X Mansion itself looks great. The X Jet is also really well done, I believe. There are obviously some things I feel are obviously outdated, like
Yeah,
some of the CGI obviously is like not as good compared to today's standards, but you can't exactly blame them because it was in 2000,
yeah,
um and also another thing is there's obviously a lot of wire work involved in this movie,
oh yes,
as it was with a lot of superhero films back then. The original Spider-Man had a lot as well. So again, I can't exactly blame them, but it is kind of distracting when rewatching it today because it's
yeah,
not something you're exactly used to. It's kind of like a thing that's either died out or has been done or is done a lot better today.
yeah. I agree with you. It's worse in this film over the first Spider-Man film. At least the Spider-Man
Yeah,
film looks still a little more impressive, but
yeah.
um,
I can argue the CGI in Spider-Man is much worse than this movie.
oh yeah, I that's really tough for me because
Yeah,
I think they're equally like outdated. It's just
yeah,
I, I think the X-Men doesn't linger too much on the shots.
yeah. That's the thing. Spider-Man absolutely does
Yeah,
compared to X-Men. So
no, I agree. Well, and also I feel like the cinematography of the first Spider-Man film is not as good as this film. I feel like
mhm.
the cinematography of the first X-Men film is a little more better than the first Spider-Man film.
Yeah.
I believe.
Mhm.
Um, it's just the first Spider-Man film has too much orange and like yellow kind of palette, and I don't.
Yeah, too much like trying to make it look like it's sunset all the time.
Yeah, like it doesn't have that great cinematography that you're gonna get later with Bill Pope
Yeah.
to do in Spider-Man 2 and Spider-Man 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess now we're entering in the criticism. What's
Yeah.
the worst aspect of the film for you?
Uh that's a good question because obviously I don't think it's a perfect film, but I guess okay, this is like more of this is like a very personal thing, but I've never really liked Halle Berry that much as an actress. Like I've never been a huge fan of her acting, so I guess that's one criticism I can give it because like yeah, she looks great as Storm, but like her acting, especially with her trying to do Storm's accent, like I feel like sometimes it just makes me cringe a little bit.
Hmm.
um but in terms of other criticisms, I guess okay, another thing is I really like Rogue in the comics, and
Oh
I feel the movies still haven't really done her that much justice. They only give her like a third of like what she's capable of in the comics. Like she's so much more than just like, being able to absorb, you know, people and their powers.
yeah,
Like Anna Paquin, like she's clearly trying. She's like doing her best, but I just wish that she could have done better. Same thing with Iceman. I think Iceman could have been a lot better in the movies. But in regards to uh Oh, I think I have one more. But I can't, it's not something I can exactly fault for them for. It's just a matter of continuity errors when it comes to the sequels and the prequels that would come later. Like, but you can say this with a lot of the films. And it's like, simple things like, when I think it's when Mystique is like in hacking in, and you see like names of like other X-Men characters, and
Yeah.
like when you go into the further films, like it would make no sense for the names to be in that computer system. But
Um.
I can't exactly fault them for that, because when you look at something like the MCU, you're looking at something that like two or three people planned like all beforehand. Whereas with this, it was like, they were focusing on just making a single movie and like possibly making sequels if it was successful. So I can't exactly fault Bryan Singer or David Hayter or any of the people involved in Fox and Marvel Entertainment for doing that.
Yeah. And also, folks, this is how franchise were at the time before the
Yes.
MCU. I mean, this is the perfect example how, like, this is how the James Bond films really operate.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this is how the '90s Batman films were. I mean, like,
Yeah.
their continuity were way off.
Oh, exactly.
Believe
Yeah.
me, this is
Harvey Dent going from Billy D. Williams to Tommy Lee Jones. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, even the Superman films were like this. And like,
Oh yeah.
I mean, especially we know we have a cut of Superman 2, and it's like,
Yes.
and
The superior cut.
yeah, yes, correct. I think you're right.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess let me get into my stuff.
Okay.
I will say it correlates you're saying about continuity or stuff like that. For me, this film, if you are a big X-Men fan, I'm sorry, if
Yeah.
you're a big X-Men fan, I just want to warn you, just keep your expectations low for certain characters you like. I mean, like,
Yeah.
especially me, like now I like, wow, I'm surprised so much. Like this film fan, I mean, the MCU does it, but like at least the MCU like change stuff that makes sense in their universe. Here
Mhm.
it's like they hear the name and then they just take them and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Um like it's crazy of the last 20 years. Like we haven't gotten like a proper Saber-Tooth versus Wolverine
Yeah.
relationship. Like it's weird how this film you see him here, you think they're setting him up, especially in when we enter in X2.
We also haven't gotten a good Gambit.
I know, and it's so weird that we haven't had a Gamut in any of
Yeah.
the X-Men.
Gambit's like one of my favorites.
Me too. He's my number one favorite.
Yeah, I love him.
I I just don't get it. It's just
Yeah.
weird how they handle these popular characters and stuff.
Yeah. It feels like I feel like a lot of that has to be attributed to Simon Kinberg, though, because like he's obviously become like, at the time, he like over time became the people that Fox relied on for their Marvel character information, but he's not really the best. He's like, another thing that comes across to me for Simon Kinberg is he feels like because he's knowledgeable of these characters and because Fox has the rights, he treats it like they're his characters. Like
Right.
that's the kind of vibe he kind of gives off to me. I feel very similar about Avi Arad, but
Oh dear.
but Avi Arad is a completely different story.
Yeah. I mean, if we talked about Spider-Man, I mean, we can go on for that character.
we can go on for days about how Avi Arad is responsible for so many of the stupid decisions before Marvel Studios took over.
Yeah. Well, okay. I mean, the big thing for me, I will say that the X-Men films are way better than the original Spider-Man trilogy, except for the Spider-Man franchise for me.
Oh, well, wow.
I agree with you about Simon Kinberg in some aspect, but at least he's trying to make a movie,
Yeah.
like, and trying, I mean, these are the versions he wrote, and I mean the vision that he took from First Class to, unfortunately,
Yeah.
Dark Phoenix. I mean, yes, you can look, you have to agree and disagree how they do it, and it's.
Yeah, and he directed that movie. Ugh.
I know, I'm surprised he did that, but I mean, look, I mean, he did confident job of directing that film, but
Yeah.
story-wise, I don't know where it is. But like, I mean, like, you know, it's just you have to realize that this is how the franchise will be. You know, it's not going to be the MCU where they take care of their characters and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I feel like I want to iterate that you know there's there's so many hands in the wheel sometimes of these productions and these movies, and X-Men totally has that. I mean, you got Tom DeCinito, this original producer for the first and second film, and also he wrote the first story here. He's gonna produce the Transformer films, all five,
Yeah.
and you know, and then of course Bryan Singer was here for the first and second film, and then he leaves, and then it's just so many hands on of the control, and then of course Tom Rothman is another. We have to mention, you know, he's another problem that cost X-Men: The Last Stand and Origins Wolverine. It just
and us almost not getting a Deadpool movie.
Yeah, exactly. I was surprised to hear that. But I mean, I think it just all comes down when they got the right story, then we get a great film.
Yeah.
If they rush it, then we're not in a good position of having a good film. When we get into in depth with the X-Men films, we'll discuss more of that. I feel like of the areas, the eras and problems that affect the film's quality. But another problem I have with this, the worst aspect of this film is also, just the way they took the characters, and like you mentioned Storm, Halle Berry. For me, I think Halle Berry can be a good actress. It's just that they don't give her very interesting stuff in this film, and the accent. Yeah, I mean, you're right. The accent is a little too hard for her to do. I just, especially in the sequels, for me, she doesn't have the gravitas or the little aspects I love about Storm in the cartoon. Like, I forgot. I don't know. Like, sorry, I remember now that has this like claustrophobic fear, and that's such a strong theme with Storm, and they don't do that here.
Yeah.
And then.
Yeah, it sometimes feels like they have just like a very basic understanding of the characters, but not too much. It's like it's like a lot of times it feels like surface level.
Oh yes, especially with Sabretooth. I feel like.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I think Sabretooth is the worst one here because of especially if you're a Wolverine fan.
Yeah, he's just a mindless thug in this movie, essentially.
Yeah, exactly. But I think we should go into like your best character in the film besides Wolverine. Let's say that.
Oh, okay. Besides Wolverine.
Yeah, who's your best character in the film that you like the most?
Probably Xavier. I mean, Patrick Stewart just does such an incredible job as Charles Xavier, and he just brings. He's a lot like the heart of the original trilogy, and
Yes.
I feel he always brought a lot to the table with his performances even as the films went on.
Oh yes, especially Days of Future Past and Logan.
Yeah. Oh my God, Logan breaks my heart.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh, just a quick story for Logan. When he gets stabbed in Logan, I was like, this is not true. I was like,
yeah.
I had to. That was my reason to rewatch Logan in the theaters. I was like, I need to see it again. But there was another thing in Logan that I was like, wait, they did not do that. It was just funny. Yeah. What other? That's your best character in the film?
Yeah.
Okay. My best character in the film is Magneto. I think there's no doubt that Ian McKellen is Magneto. I love him in this film. He's really great. I like his costume. It's really, really good. And I feel like he gives the gravitas. He gives like a great Shakespearean performance, but it's grounded.
So that's the thing when you hire like a stage actor to portray someone on film. Like they always try to give it their all in their own flair. you know.
Yes, and I think you can really see that with McKellen's performance as McNeil. I love his quick, quirks he does. When Senator Kelly is like mutated, he was trying to escape, and he was like, Senator, you, what was the word? He was like, no one will believe you're one of us, or something like that.
Yeah.
He has that little smirk. When he pulls himself out in the window. It's really great. And then of course when he meets Wolverine again, he said like, "Oh, you're what do he say it like? You're what did he say?
I'm trying to remember. Can't. Yeah, I know the part. I know the part you're talking about, but
the train when when he first encounters Wolverine, he's like, "Oh, you might be Wolverine," and then
yeah,
he stops him. It's like, it's just funny.
yeah.
It's very funny. But what else he does? This kind of cool. Yeah, and this film does a really good job of showing how Magneto's powers are. It's very impressive how they show you how he does it, and even the big set pieces, but also the small stuff. Like my favorite one is like when he's trying to inject the sedative to Rogue. It's very cool to see how the Neo goes fly.
Yeah.
Of course, her neck is pretty impressive effect. McKellen is great. He's really amazing, and he's great in X2, and he's great in X-Men: Days of Future Past. So it was great to see him again. What else? I guess after that, what's the worst character in the film for you besides Storm?
I don't know. It's probably just it just ends up coming down to just the people that don't really get much or any development at all. People like Toad or Sabretooth. Like there's just the people that are just there because to be the henchmen of the villain, but they don't really get any establishment or development of their own. Just like, oh, that's their name. And oh yeah, they look kind of like they do in the comics, but that's it.
Yeah,
they're just there for the fight scenes,
Yeah, I agree with
you. I mean, it was cool to see Ray Park as Toad, the guy that played Darth Maul.
Yeah,
but other than that, it's that it just feels like there could be like some development with them, but I understand there's like they only have so little time to develop all these characters, and they have to give some more than others. But
yeah,
that's probably where I would categorize my least favorite character.
Yeah, I mean, discussion with characters. I think the film does enough good job of handling characters, but also like making them more unique and interesting from their comic book counterparts. I feel like that with Toad the most. I like this version of Toad than the comic book versions. He doesn't have to be deaf. I like his a little more like sarcastic tone, and the way they use his abilities are very impressive. When you come to most disappointing characters, has to be Sabretooth of not setting him up as Wolverine's enemy and rival. And then Storm.
And it makes even less sense when you get to like Origins, where they yeah. So I won't get into it, but
well, and I don't feel like that's the same character for this film. I consider Lee Shriver's character to be different because it's kind of like the Emma Frost thing. People think, I don't when we get into some of the continuity, I have this beef with some people. Look, it was clear the Emma in X-Men Origin Wolverine is not Emma Frost. It's just is Emma Silverfox. That's her sister. They combined Emma Frost's character into that.
Yeah, didn't Quicksilver also have a kind of cameo in Origins, but it was a different actor than Evan Peters?
Yeah, because I don't think that's supposed to be Quicksilver. For me, that's because he was moving fast like a speedster.
Hmm.
And I mean, I don't know. It's a little
Whatever.
weird.
Whatever. Movie sucks. Moving on.
Yeah, it's really sucked. Um, let me check. Because I'm
Okay.
curious about the X-Men. Nope, it doesn't say he has a cameo at all in the original X-Men. Origins Wolverine. I'm sorry.
Mm.
So yeah, I think it's just more like fan theory that is Quicksilver, because he's
Okay.
white
Well,
hair.
it's obviously not now, but
No, of course not. Yeah, it's a little weird how the well, it's because like it, they have a hard time keeping up what characters they have previously, and then the problem
yeah.
is going into the prequels, they've just reused characters, and it's like,
Hmm.
and then
They
they
reuse characters, but just with different actors.
exactly. So um, I mean, I guess we haven't mentioned other things. Like, what do you think about the suits? Um,
I mean, yeah. So obviously there are probably people that were like, I want the classic yellow and black suits, but it was at that period in time when like again studios were really pushing for superhero movies to be taken more seriously, so they decided like let's make it all like mostly black, so like it'll be seen as way more serious.
right.
That's at least the vibe I got from it. I think it still works, honestly.
Yeah.
um, I would like to see like I think the suits, like the way they're presented in like X-Men First Class, like that's like how I would want it. But
Yeah.
I really don't mind the way that the suits look in the original film or the original trilogy.
No. I don't know why people complain about the suits. I mean, because
Yeah,
this
I mean,
came right.
it's just a costume, you know.
Yeah. I mean, because the problem was they came right after Matrix, and so like
Yeah, that too.
whether I can get that why. I don't mind the X suits in these films. I like to keep the X motif in their suits, like
I
in
mean,
their
it's not like Cyborg in Smallville.
oh no, thank goodness. Yeah, I mean, I do agree with some that like but I think it gets more a problem in the later series when we don't get the costumes and
Yeah.
get a promise like I wish we continue with the first class and my
Hmm.
US helmet like
Yeah.
that's another thing this films just failed to do is give you promises and they ugh, just they failed to keep that promise for you.
Yeah.
Um yeah, and then um I guess the other characters um we should discuss Mystique. What do you think
Yeah.
about her? Um,
Well, I mean, I think she works as a villain
yeah,
in the original film. I certainly think it's better than what Jennifer Lawrence's Mystique turned into.
yeah,
Because I'm not really the biggest fan of Mystique in the prequel films, because like I liked her in First Class, but it just feels like as it went on and on and on, like they just like kept writing her as a hero simply because it was Jennifer Lawrence, and like they just forget about the way the character is supposed to be. Like let's just have her be a hero
hmm
because this actress was in the Hunger Games. And
yeah,
and also like Jennifer Lawrence like made it clear like she doesn't like she started to not like doing those movies, yet they kept keeping her on until it died.
yeah.
So
Um, I mean, for me, if they kept the consistent of the quality of the films they have with First Class and Days of Future Past,
mhm.
I don't think she could have been saying that. I feel like because the first two prequel films did a really good job of making Mystique a very more complex character, like
Mhm.
from the comics. But when we enter an apocalypse, my big issue is that they went such a 180 degree with not only her but Magneto and some of the characters
Yeah.
that we paid off in Days of Future Past, and that
Yeah.
was the most frustrating thing. And Mystique, another problem with them is this: again, they cannot keep their promises to the next film, and
Well, it's because like they don't have. It feels like it felt like for the most part they didn't have like like just like a group of people just like mapping out a narrative, you know.
Yeah.
It felt like in some ways they were making it up as they go, in terms of continuity and different entries in the franchise.
Which it's just frustrating because
Yeah.
like okay, I don't need this very artistic long-term plan. You just make a good film. I don't care
Yeah.
about those other aspects.
Yeah.
And like James Bond has that. Like Skyfall
Yeah.
doesn't feel like that, but it's such a good film. I I don't know. I feel like well, and they try too hard to become like the MCU, and the problem is they're not the MCU.
Not at all. Fox isn't nearly as like because the thing is the difference between Marvel Studios and Fox is Fox one is not run by was run by Rupert Murdoch, and so like the thing with but like Fox does all kinds of movies. Marvel Studios focuses on just Marvel projects, so they're dedicated. They're focused on just that, and they focus on not just doing their characters and their source material justice, but making good movies. Fox is, I mean, yes, Marvel Studios is part of a corporation, but they are a film studio. Fox is a corporation. Their main goal is hate to be real, but in the end, their main goal is making money.
Yeah.
So, like, and yeah, obviously, Marvel Studios' plan, they work for Disney, and that their end goal is making money as well. But it feels like the people at Marvel Studios are like, very passionate people in the film industry who also are huge Marvel fans and like want to see their characters done well on the big screen. So that's what feels like the big difference between Marvel Studios and 20th Century Fox. I'm sorry. 20th Century Studios now.
Yeah. Oh my God. I completely agree with you. I mean, also they have a producer that has a vision, of course.
Yes.
With Kevin Feige,
Oh my God.
the idea of a shared universe, and
Yeah, and not just him. There's also Louis D'Esposito. He's also like one of the big brains. It's not just
And then Victoria.
Oh yeah, what's her last name? God damn it! I'll look it up.
Yeah, I mean, they did a really good job of keeping 11 years of continuity and consistency very well. And I mean, Fox.
Victoria Alonso, that's her name.
Thank you. Those three really did a good job of just making this universe work.
Yes.
And, yes, there were rough patches, but they were not as rough as
not as rough as X-Men or Spider-Man.
I mean, even the DCU,
even that, yeah.
And I feel like, I mean, it's just crazy, that 11 years they made such a big empire and just, turn unknown characters into popular ones,
Oh yeah.
And
it's hard to like go into like a pop culture like store or anything like that and not see like something that's like Guardians of the Galaxy or Black Panther or like characters that you wouldn't even know people knew about like a few years ago.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. And like, does people know like Gamut is still popular, and
I mean, it's like he's like, you don't see him in like stores or anything like, or on T-shirts or anything. If you're going to like a mainstream store, so I'm hoping, I have my fingers crossed that Marvel Studios will put him in a movie and like he'll become another household name like the rest of the characters they've introduced to the mainstream audiences.
Yeah, I wish. Yeah, that's the one thing. Other characters need to get better portrayals. Like
Cyclops especially.
Oh yes, we haven't talked about Cyclops.
We haven't talked about Cyclops. Yeah, he's not very good in any of the movies. Like, no offense to James Marsters, or I don't know the name of the actor who plays him in Apocalypse and Dark Phoenix, but but he's not done very well. He's not done to the full capabilities that he's supposed to be in the comics.
No. Yeah, well, and they misunderstood the character of Scott. Like, Scott is a little weird as a character. He's a very troubled character in the comics. Very, very, very ambiguous character, but unfortunately, people just see him as the goody two-shoe.
Yeah, well, he's supposed to be like the leader kind of character.
Yeah, and We don't
But
get
he's not. They give that to like they make him like this pompous ass, you know.
yeah, yeah, it's a little weird. I mean, we should discuss the other X-Men characters like Jean Grey as well. What do you think about her in this film? And, like,
I mean, I think Famke Janssen does a pretty decent job at her. I mean, I can't really compare her to Sophie Turner because Sophie Turner barely got like even in Dark Phoenix. I feel like she was underused. You know, she wasn't given a whole lot to work with.
yeah,
But I feel like in the first two films, that version of Jean Grey is much better. Like it feels
well,
like there is some develop. It feels like there is quite a bit of development with her in the first two films.
yeah, and also setting her up to be the Dark Phoenix, of course, and
Yes.
which compared to Sophie Turner, that didn't like. Well, like the weird thing is they introduce her again, and then already they teasing the Phoenix, and then the next film is Dark Phoenix, and they retcon the tease they did in Apocalypse. Like that was such a
Yeah.
weird, like such a bizarre way they did in the prequels, and
Yeah.
I I feel like the best thing, like I mean, and we'll get into the other things like the thing is where these films did a good job of setting up their films and this original trilogy, where the prequels like did not really set up stuff they could have done, and they
A lot of times it felt like they were just rights retainer movies.
yeah
Like movies that they a lot like you know how like Fox treated the Fantastic Four, where a lot of times they didn't care about the Fantastic Four, but they wanted to keep the rights because they knew that
yeah
if the rights reverted back to Marvel, they would turn into another blockbuster franchise.
yeah
So
mm,
if you like maybe not it may not have been like as careless as the Fantastic Four films,
oh no
um, but it did feel like sometimes they didn't put as the films went on and on, they put less and less effort. If that makes any
yeah
sense.
well, and I feel like there were too many hands in the cook of the kitchen of these films, those prequels. Like Matthew Vaughn was involved with First Class and then a little bit in
Mm-hmm.
Days of Future Past, but then he left to do Kingsman, and then Kimberg and Brian Singer took over for Apocalypse, and they were
Yeah.
completely in control of that. But then that didn't work. And then Dark
Mm-hmm.
Phoenix, it was just all Simon Kinberg and Hatch Parker, and that's it. And it's like, oh well. So it's just yeah, very interesting control. I mean, like First Class, there was like a direction that I think Vaughn wanted to go to, but then like if you didn't hear what Vaughn say, he had like a long term,
Yeah.
but
That
then
seems to be a big problem throughout the entire series. Is like the studio not agreeing with the the filmmaker.
yeah,
I mean, it's not the first time Fox has done this. The Alien franchise is a big example
oh
of
yeah,
that.
Alien 3, I know that. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's I mean, these are not as bad as Aliens 3 was, but
Yeah. I
yeah.
mean, I mean, Alien 3 isn't that bad. It's Alien Resurrection that's garbage.
Oh, I mean, yeah, but I mean, Aliens Resurrection is just a studio community. Yeah, it was like, okay, we want another one, and
Yeah.
it was like a studio mandate film, and
Yeah.
it wasn't like the first three films.
Hmm.
Um, I guess let's go into like, I mean, like, you want to hear trivia and facts about this film?
Yeah, go ahead.
So, so there's a lot of writers in this first film,
Yes.
and the big one I know was Joss Whedon, and
Yeah.
somehow he's in this film. I mean, he was initially wrote two drafts, and then apparently they didn't like it because it was too much like pop culture references and stuff like that.
Sounds like him.
Exactly. And and obviously, you know, I do want to mention about some of the best stuff that Brian Zager and Joss Whedon are in right now.
Hmm.
I do not give them credit for these films, and
Hmm.
or Joss Whedon at the Avengers films.
Hmm.
So I feel like the writers of David Hare did a really good job of making the film work.
David Hayter's a good writer. He's also he was also the voice. In case you don't know, he was the voice of Solid Snake in the Metal Gear video game franchise. So that's another thing he's known for.
Oh, and he's the voice of King Shark in The Flash.
Yes, he is. Yeah. So there was I don't know if you've been keeping up with The Flash, but during season 5, I believe it was, there was an episode where King Shark had his powers taken away, and I was typing, "Please be David Hayter, please be David Hayter," but it wasn't David Hayter. It was a different actor when he was a human. I was like, "Damn it!"
Yes, it was for the King Shark versus Greta Groth, right?
Yes, that was the episode, I believe.
Okay, what else that was interesting? Yeah, they have a lot of changes of the script, like Michael, there was another one that there was a 6-page film treatment in Fox in 1996 that had between Wolverine and Jubilee. And obviously they transferred Jubilee's personality and stuff like that into Rogue's.
Yeah.
Which makes a lot of sense. It's weird they didn't put Jubilee as the main character in these films.
Has she been in any of the? Oh, she was in Apocalypse, but she didn't do anything. That's right.
Yeah. Well, and she was in X2. She's the. Well, her scenes were deleted, but she's in X2. If you see her, she's an Asian girl, and you see her hands kind of electrify a little bit. And,
that's
you see
right.
her towards the end of the film when. Yeah. So. Yeah, it's weird. It's kind of like Kitty Pryde when she has cameos, but it didn't came to fruition. So it's very interesting. But yeah, well, and also Fox, the budget of this film, it's crazy to look at the budget, but the budget here is $75 billion to make.
Really?
Yeah, it's not 100 or 140 like Spider-Man.
That's crazy.
Yeah, so Fox were very cost concern for this film. They wanted to either be 60 or 75 billion dollars. That's why you see a lot of the effects a little outdated, and they were very this film feels more like a TV pilot more than a film like X2, because X2 from 75, X2 is 110 billion dollars to make. Much bigger and a lot better to look at. And with the $75 million, they had to cut out some certain characters like Beast and Nightcrawler were deleted over budget concerns. So from Fox.
Yeah, and it does feel weird to have an entry X-Men film and not have Beast involved.
Yeah, for me, that's why I love. This is why I have a guilty pleasure for X-Men: The Last Stand.
Beast, I will agree, is one of the few really good things about Last Stand.
Yeah, I love Kaiser Grammer. He's great. I was so happy he had cameo on Days of Future Past. I was kind of sad not to see an older Beast. You got it. I mean, I like Nick. I like Nicholas Hoult as an actor, but he's not.
Yeah, he's not the best Beast. No.
I hate that when Kimber got involved, he just completely just didn't make it properly comic book faithful Beast. It's he's just he was more like the Hulk than the Hulk. It's weird. Okay, let's kind of enter in of what do you think about the legacy of the film? What do you think will what do you think about the legacy of this film will be for people?
Well, like I said before, it was one of the big influences on superhero movies leading to where we are today. We wouldn't have a Marvel Cinematic Universe if it wasn't for this movie.
No.
So so you obviously have to give the film credit for that. Despite however you may think of it today, you can't deny that it had a major impact on the way the public mainstream movie-going audiences perceive superhero movies. And it was the superhero movies were still in sort of a dark age because we did get X-Men and Spider-Man, but we also got Daredevil and Ghost Rider. So it was still not the greatest time.
Um, I mean, for entry from X-Men, Spider-Man, it was like a learning process,
Oh yeah,
like how you
absolutely.
can take X-Men and Spider-Man's successful formula,
Yeah,
and I don't think we got there until um Iron Man and Dark Knight, where we kind of
yeah,
got better with it. But we got some really like weird results of successful films. Like,
yeah.
like I never expect like how you say Deadpool to be the biggest X-Men film and be literally the highest one out of the main X-Men films.
If Deadpool beat a movie that had Batman and Superman in it.
Yes. And like we haven't had a successful Fantastic Four film. Like
Nope,
we haven't had like a successful Superman film. Like it's
no.
very weird how
Oh, didn't Man of Steel do well financially?
who?
Man of Steel.
Well, it did, but it didn't do like I say it like it's kind of weird with Man of Steel. Like
Hmm.
it did perform better over Superman Returns. It made over
Yeah,
$660 million, if I remember correctly, over
yeah.
the 391 million that Superman Returns made in 2006. The
Hmm.
problem was it was over budget. It was 225 to make, and so obviously it didn't break even. And
Yeah,
then also it was very divided and very just
yeah.
it wasn't, I think, Warner's like to be like Batman Begins. Like it was
Hmm.
critically praised. It was both loved by the critics and the audience when it came out. I feel like
Yeah,
that wasn't for Man of Steel.
yeah.
So of course,
I actually do like Man of Steel. I mean, I don't think it's a perfect film, but I do enjoy it.
yeah, I enjoy it. I don't I say I don't hate it. I'm right
No.
in the middle. I enjoy some parts of it.
Hmm.
Um, I feel like there's things they can execute it better, but
Yeah.
and I don't mind General Assad being killed. That's not my movie.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with that either.
Yeah, so I'm not one of those people. I just in general I think it's a good average superhero film that
Hmm.
just some of the ideas and
Like at the time, I could have when I saw the movie, when I saw Man of Steel for the first time in theaters, I was like, yeah, I can definitely see a DC cinematic universe spawning from this.
oh really? Huh.
Yeah, yeah.
I I
I didn't think it would become what it is now, but
like
because I wasn't as big a DC fan back then as I am now. Like I'm a really big DC guy now, so
really
I understand things like the multiverse and like the different types of characters. Like you got the powered characters, the magic characters, the really weird ones. Like so like I didn't fully understand DC back then. Like it was just like all Batman and nothing else back when Man of Steel came out for me. I wasn't a huge Superman fan back then, but I really like Superman now.
okay, that's very cool. I have the same thing. I was a Batman fan. I'm still like Batman is still my favorite character for DC.
Yeah, yeah,
I
me
wasn't
too.
a Marvel guy until Iron Man came out, and that
Yeah,
made me into a Marvel fan in general.
I only liked Spider-Man. I didn't really care about everything else in the Marvel universe until the MCU started to become a thing. I was like, okay,
Yeah,
clearly I'm missing something, and so I
that,
went.
yeah. Same here with you. That's what happened to me when I love Iron Man. That's how I went.
Hmm.
Yeah, and of course you went into the impact of the superhero film genre. For me, it definitely just gave us like the right track.
Hmm.
What you need to do for a superhero film. Take the material seriously. Try to like keep the essence of what made it special.
Hmm.
That's how Spider-Man was successful. I mean, this is how Batman Begins was successful.
Yes.
Where and that's where the MCU, when the first Iron Man came out, that's when it really became successful, because
Hmm.
the ones that didn't weren't successful, like Daredevil or the Hulk or I mean what else?
Ghost Rider.
Ghost Rider, yeah, that was another one. And then Fantastic Four, because they lack something. Some of them was okay. They got the idea, but they didn't
Hmm.
get the essence of the characters. They went too radical, changing their characters and
Yeah.
like that. So it took a while for, I think, for studios to allow someone to understand what needs to be. I mean, Kevin Feige started from this film.
Yes, that's right.
I do want to mention that in terms of the legacy of the film and its impact on super film genre, this started Kevin Feige's like leeway into the Marvel enterprise, the whole enterprise. He is an executive producer. Lothar Schur has mentioned in a couple of the behind the scenes interviews and blogs, stuff like that, that she had an intern, and so she hired Kevin Feige of his knowledge of the Marvel universe. So if you look at some of the key aspects of maybe Wolverine's hair, or like the dynamics of some characters that were successful in these films, were probably Feige's. And so if you look at how the MCU were, he pretty much learned how, if you look at Fantastic, because if you see how Fantastic and Ant-Man were in the same year in 2015, right? If you tell me how Ant-Man was going to be the better film, because that film had major trouble productions.
Yeah.
It winding up being an okay film. It did well at box office, where Fantastic suffered from the consequences of not having a strong director that had a very bizarre vision. Stuff like that.
That's putting it mildly.
Exactly. Everyone, go check the Midnight Edge videos of John Franken's film.
Yes, definitely.
It's a wild story, and he's just really bizarre. And you see how Feige just knew how to handle that situation, and it just so.
Yeah, I like Ant-Man. I think it's a good film. I mean, I know it. You're right. It had a lot of production issues, but I think the final product, I think it's really enjoyable.
Exactly. That's all I need to ask. Just give me a film, right? And
same thing happened with Solo. Solo had a lot of production problems. I thought, oh my god, this is going to be trash. But I actually enjoyed Solo.
Yeah. I think Disney did a good job of. I think Disney do a better job of reshoots than I think studios. I kind of noticed that. I'm trying to think what other film that did okay. Like World War C is another one I think that did a good job of handling their trouble production and tried to fix it. But that's all opinion. But yeah, I mean, like if you look at how these films really went, you see how Feige took the MCU. It's like I think X-Men needed a clear producer vision, because Laura Sheridan and Ralph Winter, the originals, just like they were doing the the very traditional franchise method. But then when we entered more of the spin-offs and prequels, that's where we got more complicated, and that's where we got just more inconsistent, I feel like, and more power. That's the thing. When you want the piece of the pie, they want to be part of that. That's why Sam Drinker took over. Because stuff like that. Okay, and then it's very interesting. And there's another producer called Hatch Parker. He entered in the Wolverine, and he's another producer that becomes more prominent in the Lear franchise. And then Ryan Reynolds becomes the producer for his films, and
oh, thank God.
Yeah, thank goodness. So, I guess for one last thing, two more last things.
Okay.
You want to rank the film?
Rank the film?
Yeah.
Okay. I was actually thinking about this. So I think the way I would rank it is I would put above it X2, First Class.
Okay.
Days of Future Past, both of the Dead, not in any particular order, by the way.
Okay.
I'm just listing the films I would put above it. I put X2, First Class, Days of Future Past, both of the Deadpool films and Logan above it, and everything else below it. So Last Stand, Origins, Apocalypse, and Dark Phoenix. I think I listed everything.
Yes. Okay. Let me list my stuff here. I'm going to put the last one. So we got 12 films, right? So number 12.
I believe so.
Yeah. Because 13 is the New Mutants, right?
Yeah.
So.
Oh yeah, I keep forgetting about that film. That poor movie. It'll never be released. It just won't be released. Fingers crossed for it being released next month. I don't know.
Yes.
We'll see what happens.
I hope so for me, because I want to go back to the theaters and see Tenet, for God's sake. Oh, God. So for my ranking, I put 12 X-Men Origins Wolverine. That's the worst film for me. It's so bad. I'm so disgusted at how they handled the origin and just completely disgraded X2. So X-Men Origins Wolverine is number last in my list as 12th worst film. And then 11, I put X-Men Apocalypse. I feel like, for me, because the younger prequel class are my X-Men I grew up watching. I didn't properly watch the original trilogy, and I have a soft spot for X-Men Last Stand. But man, I was to say for X-Men Apocalypse, and then they completely just failed. They did.
Yeah.
They disappoint me completely. So it's
and not only that, but they tragically wasted Oscar Isaac's talent.
For me, he gets wasted with the blockbuster stuff. Oscar Isaac, he's a great actor.
He's a very great actor.
And then number 10, I guess I will put number 10. I guess I put Dark Phoenix.
Okay.
It has similar problems as Fantastic. It's trying to be too serious, but then I just don't get why the characters are doing what. But the big difference from Fantastic, it has better production values. It has more confident director. Like, there's cool scenes in this film. It's not assaulting to me. It's not like Apocalypse or Origins. It's just a bland kind of film. So Dark Phoenix is number 10 on my ranking. And then number 9, I put X-Men The Last Stand because it's a mess of a film. I like one idea they should have taken was the cure instead of just adding in the Phoenix. That's another thing, but Kimberg. Like, I don't know why they were trying to keep the Phoenix plotline if they were not going to focus it at all in that film. So for me, X-Men The Last Stand was my first film. There's stuff that I like that you can like in the film. Beast, the casting of some characters are good. I like Beast. He's the best part of the film. Kelsey Grammer is amazing. His makeup is amazing as well. I enjoyed that. Then Nicholas Hoult. So that's number 9. And then number 8, I put the first X-Men there. The first X-Men film is a great start film, but it's too short. It's not as epic as you want from the other X-Men films, or it doesn't have just enough meat or substance you want to have in that film. It's just an okay start of film for a franchise that's going to be much bigger and go some places, which I don't know where they're going to go. And so, so that'd be 8. And then number 7, I put the first Deadpool. I didn't see Deadpool in theaters as well, so I didn't know Deadpool as well. So so it's a good confident orange film. I think it's the most small scale film we got for an X-Men film that does it right. I like the performances of Ryan Reynolds. It's very passionate kind of project, and I really enjoy it.
Yes.
So that's number 7, and then number 6 and 5, I have a toss up. It's either because because number 6 I had originally the Wolverine, and then number 5 was Deadpool 2. So
I forgot about the Wolverine in my ranking, but I'll let you finish yours first.
Yeah, very quickly. I guess, I should do. Yeah, I'll probably put Deadpool 2 at 6, and then I'll put 5 the Wolverine because I really watched the Wolverine multiple times recently. Yeah. So Deadpool 2, I like it more than the first one because Deadpool 2 is my first Deadpool film. I enjoy it more. It has more of the raunchy comedy. The action is, top notch. I love the new supporting characters. It's a really funny expression of the universe, and the first 2 Deadpool films are the most X-Men we really got in terms of comic book faithfulness and just style. I just love it. Like, comic accurate characters like Colossus and new and creative characters that I love, like Teenage Warhead and
Yeah.
Dynamo. So those films are really great. Number 5, The Wolverine. I saw the Wolverine in theaters one time. I was like, okay, it's a better film over Origins Wolverine.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of repeating viewing, and especially with Logan being directed by the same director, I appreciate the Wolverine more as a character development for the character of Logan.
Mm-hmm.
It's a great small scale film. I love it. It's not a wormhole like battle like high stakes kind of film. It's a very small, intimate film that goes into depth of the Wolverine character. The third act goes a little too comic booky, but I don't have that problem. I don't have that problem. I think there's ways they can do it differently, but again, that's just my opinion. So number 5 is the Wolverine. Number 4, X2. Great sequel, really amps up the scale and expansion of the universe from the first film and gives you everything what a sequel should do. So the thing that kind of just doesn't put it high on my list is the stuff the stuff they trying to set up doesn't get paid off well.
Yeah.
Of course, the Phoenix, and then Wolverine's origins gets just completely muddled and destroyed in Origins Wolverine and the later prequels, unfortunately. Then number 3 is X-Men First Class. One of my favorite, this is the first proper good film of X-Men film I saw in theaters. I saw X-Men The Last Stand and Wolverine, Origins Wolverine in theaters, and they were the worst films for everyone, they say. And it's like, especially Origins Wolverine. I had allergies during that day. I was like, I was dying. I had allergies. I remember it was raining out there that one day. I went with my parents to see that film. Oh my God. Can't believe it. First Class, when I saw First Class, I was like, wow, this is cool. A alternate thriller 1960s film. I was digging it. And then towards the end when you saw Magneto's classic helmet, I was like, oh my God, they did it. It was like way better than what the Marvel Studios did. The reason I like the Marvel Studios is they did that accurate comic character costumes. Iron Man, Captain America, they were good, but when I saw Magneto's helmet, I was like, forget that. I'm like, and I think it's First Class and Days of Future Past the best alternate, and Wonder Woman, the best alternate, history superhero films and the superhero film series over the MCU, because the MCU don't really try creatively with the alternate histories. It's just, that's my opinion. But X-Men First Class is great. X-Men First Class is a great Magneto film. It really expands the character more. It gives you more in-depth of who Magneto was and how he became Magneto. They did such a good job with that. Gives you why you like Michael Fassbender as an actor. Really incredible film. A great villain. I love Sebastian Shaw in this film. I love this version of the Hellfire Club.
Yeah.
Kevin Bacon is amazing. And so it's number 3 on my X-Men ranking. And then number 2, Logan. Logan is the best X-Men film. It's one of the best Wolverine films. What else I gotta say? It's one of the best radar films of superhero films, and I love it. Hugh Jackman is a great character. Hugh Jackman is a great actor playing this character. It's really sad that he's leaving. He left the role, but I think it's a great swan song. I think James Mangold really did a great job with this film. He felt controlled this time around. He had the voice. I felt his voice in this film, and I think he did such an amazing job. I was happy to see 4V Friday, another great film, guys. Check that out. And this film made me appreciate his filmography. So I seen a couple of his films, and he's a great director. And great fine performance for Patrick Stewart as Professor X. But it's number 1. Number 1 is X-Men Days of Future Past. One of my favorite films of superhero films all time. My personal favorite of the X-Men, but also superhero films in general. Number 1. It's amazing. I love how they combine both casts. It's a proper third final film for the older cast, finally. It also is a personal thing for me. It actually got me into YouTube. It got actually took me in a more stable career choice, because of I used the Quicksilver song, the prison break they did.
Yeah.
I put that song and it became a huge hit in my channel, and so I continue ever since. And that this film is a personal thing for me, and so I want to thank this film so much of keeping me in the editing square area. So I really love X-Men Days of Patch. It's tight. It's 2 hours. Good. 131 minutes. That's a good length for a film. It's emotional. It's deep, but it's fun. It has a great way of using time travel. Ever I see in the film. Better. It's way better over Endgame. I just felt like Endgame just.
Wow.
I just because Endgame was joking about time travel. I was like, why are you joking about time travel? Like, there's other films that did time travel, and that really just I didn't like. Why? They keep like this film. X-Men Days of Fast never comment on the time travel device or anything like that. They give you the rules, and it's like, here we go, and that's it. And they took it serious. Where Endgame was just like, oh yes, we know it's gonna be complicated and etc. etc. I know that. Time travel is a fictional thing. It's not going to be perfect. I understand that. So I think X-Men Days of Future Past is a better Endgame over Avengers Endgame. I'm sorry, folks. I'm just saying. It's my opinion. So
Well, okay. Well, if I want to be more detailed on my rankings of the X-Men films,
yeah.
I'm going to be forthright. So at the bottom, I'm going to put Dark Phoenix.
Okay.
Because I think that movie is just a goddamn mess, and from the get-go, and was a horrible send-off for the main series of X-Men films. And then above that, and then like right above it, like both these films are I think are equally terrible. But and then right above it I would put X-Men Origins Wolverine, because that film is hot garbage. Like I really don't know what they were thinking. Like every time I see like any bit of footage from it, I'm thinking like people made this. They made this and put it out into the world knowingly. Like okay, and then after that I would put X-Men The Last Stand. It's not wouldn't consider it a good movie, but I don't think it's horrible. Oh wait, no, what am I saying? I'm sorry. Forget I said that. Above X-Men Origins Wolverine, I'll put X-Men Apocalypse. Because that film, what I feel was not good. It was a really bad continuation from an amazing film, which was X-Men Days of Future Past, and just like completely ruined people's expectations for where the franchise was going to go after that movie. Then after that, I would put X-Men: The Last Stand, because yes, I don't think it's really a good movie, but I don't think it's a really bad movie either. I think it's just not the best.
Yeah. And also, sorry to interrupt.
Oh yeah, what's up?
I do not like this film. I just think it's a okay film, but just not execute ideas, folks. And we do not support Brett Ratner either. He's
no.
So we're just saying it's less painful than the other films.
Yeah, no, Brett Ratner can go to hell. But so after where was I? Last Stand, right?
Yes.
Okay, Last Stand. Then after that, I think I would put The Wolverine. I think The Wolverine is a good movie. It stayed true to the comics while also being entertaining as a casual film. I think again, Hugh Jackman is of course amazing as the character, and you are right. The final act like becomes very cartoony compared to the rest of the movie. And I think that's the reason why I don't like hold it in a huge regard. But I still think it's a good movie. I still think like I can watch this and enjoy it. So that's the Wolverine, and then after that I would put probably Deadpool 2.
Okay.
Because I think Deadpool 2, I think Deadpool 2 was great. It was a great sequel, and I think the characters in it are great. Like Josh Brolin as Cable is a great choice, and he does a great job. And Ryan Reynolds continues to be amazing as Deadpool. And then above that, I would put Deadpool 1, because Deadpool 1 is just like a dream come true for me, because I love Deadpool so much. And it was clearly like like you said, it was clearly like a passion project for Ryan Reynolds, and the other people that were involved in that movie. I just think it was a great movie. And then after that, I would put X2. Oh wait, no, I'm sorry. Oh God, I'm messing up here. I'm sorry. Below, in between the Wolverine and Deadpool 2, that's where I put the original X-Men.
Okay.
Okay, yeah. Like you said, it was a good starting point, but it was too short. It's a little outdated, and there's some characters that I wish that were in the film that were not. And then after that, Deadpool 2, then Deadpool 1, then X2. I think X2 is a great sequel. I think Stryker is a good villain. I think that it further developed Wolverine very well, and it certainly had a great tease at the end, which unfortunately, like you said, didn't get followed up very well. But I still consider X2 a superior film over the original X-Men. And then after X2, I would put First Class. Because, yes, First Class is a very great film. It's a great prequel film, despite at the time there being a continuity error with the prologue in The Last Stand, but that doesn't matter. So I think First Class is a great period piece. I think they did a great job recasting a lot of the older characters with younger actors. And yeah, I think X-Men First Class is a very entertaining film. Matthew Vaughn did a great job. And then after First Class, I would put Days of Future Past.
Okay.
Days of Future Past is my number 2. So, like you said, Days of Future Past is probably the best of the main X-Men films. I think it is truly wonderful. You're right. It's a great time travel story. It's a great half-period piece. It does the characters very well. And manages to, and it's a great like combining film of both the prequels and the mainline films. And I think one of the best parts about it is the ending. I think the ending is like, I was super excited at the end because I was thinking like, I can finally get like X-Men movies that I've always wanted. Like, it left me with like a huge amount of hope for the franchise. And unfortunately, like before it didn't follow up, but I still consider X-Men Days of Future Past to be an amazing film, one of the much better comic book films of the decade.
Agreed.
And the best of the mainline X-Men films. And above Days of Future Past, I would put Logan. I think Logan is hit all the right bars for me. It adapted the Old Man Logan series without completely adapting it, because I'm going to be honest, I really don't like the comic books miniseries Old Man Logan. I think it's not very good. But I think Hugh Jackman did some of his best work as the character. I love X-23 in the film. I think Patrick Stewart did an amazing job as well. I love that it feels like a Western. And it's like, it doesn't have to rely on like, it didn't like, I love the Marvel Studios films, obviously, but it didn't have to rely on big CGI explosions or huge action set pieces involving like a majority of CGI. It could stay practical. It could stay with doing wire work without being too obvious. And I just love it for that. I really feel that the series should have ended with that film, but unfortunately they kept going for a couple more years before finally losing the rights by being bought by Disney. But I think Logan is the best, in my opinion, despite whatever I may think of New Mutants. I doubt that I will like it more than Logan, because I think Logan is just such a fantastic film and a perfect ending to not only the X-Men film series, but also to Hugh Jackman as Wolverine.
Yes, I totally agree. Yeah, our last 4 lists are like kind of similar. It's just the number 1 and 2 just flipped. Wow,
yeah,
that's very cool. Yeah, I completely agree. Logan is an amazing film. It's such a great character-driven film, general, and it just wraps up Wolverine as a character in that film series very well.
Yeah,
and it's incredible. 20 years.
Yeah, 20 years.
It's incredible. For conclusions, let me say this out loud. For 20 years, I think the X-Men will still be a important film, no matter what happened with the director, obviously, with his problems, or, the inconsistent quality of the X-Men films that we got after X2. I would say it did a good job. The first film set us up for a much better decade, the next 2 decades of superhero films,
Mm-hmm.
and gave us so many of the characters that we like, but also characters we didn't know that gave them new fandom and new audience. And I think the first film does everything right as a story up film, as a superhero film. Um, I wish that I can see it as a child in the theaters and see what was the reaction of seeing these characters in the big screen for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's incredible. 20 years, and if you see this film and seeing the many films that came after it, it's incredible. And it's so surreal. Like this year, we got Harley Quinn, The Birds of Prey came out, and then we're
Mm-hmm.
waiting for Wonder Woman in October and Black Widow, and like we came such a long way those 20 years of superhero films, and it's just incredible. So, any final thoughts, Tommy?
Just that I love the X-Men franchise, and despite and I completely agree that X-Men is a very important film when it comes to the evolution of superhero movies. And despite how the ups and downs the franchise have had over the years, I still respect what they did for the most part. And I'm really hopeful for how Marvel Studios will interpret this franchise in the future.
Yes, I agree. Hopefully MCU will learn well, I mean, Feige knows what happened, and he has a very clear vision on what the character should be, and I think
Yeah.
he will do that the same with Fantastic Four and
Mm-hmm.
of course the X-Men, our favorite mutants.
And Blade.
So yeah, so thank you, Tommy, for coming.
Of
Could
course.
you stay for just 2 minutes? Just want to talk
Yeah.
to you a little bit. Thank you everyone for tuning in to this podcast of X-Men, the 20th anniversary talk. My co-host Tommy and I discussed pretty much the legacy of this film, and I hope you guys enjoy this podcast. Thank you, and have a nice day.